My thesis is really that crypto has sort of lost its original culture. And so if you think of culture, it includes things like shared values, shared beliefs, understanding, ethics, mission, that sort of thing. And a culture is really the most important element of any community or organization. And as communities scale, they're in danger of losing their culture if it's not properly communicated to new members. And so I believe that this has happened to crypto. It's started to kind of lose its culture and change in many ways that actually don't make sense. And they forget some of the mistakes of the past, and many of these changes actually dilute the entire value proposition of the original culture. And so I think this is important because if crypto is going to be, it's going to be something actually meaningful, it's important that, to kind of persevere through the trough of disillusionment, we need to have a really strong culture. And so I think the original cultural values of Bitcoin and Ethereum were actually pretty good, but they degraded over time and became muddled. So to recap, for Bitcoin, those values were censorship resistance, trust minimization, and it got those values because previous digital currency attempts failed due to basically not really having them. Part of that was because people didn't have those values at the time. It was kind of a pre-2008 world, and part of it was nobody really combined the tech in the way that Satoshi did up until that point. And so back then, it was peer-to-peer electronic cash and a world-changing technology. But now the Bitcoin community has basically devolved into a mimetic culture where people kind of extol the virtues of eating meat, yet are happy to cheer when the Chinese Communist Party announces its intent to create a digital currency. Good for Bitcoin? I doubt it. For Ethereum, unstoppable applications in Web3 was the original vision, alongside the core values that Bitcoin brought of censorship resistance, minimal trust, et cetera. And people basically recognize that trusted systems inevitably become rent-seeking, corrupt middlemen. So that was sort of the idea with Ethereum. But ironically, most apps aren't decentralized at all. In fact, it's not even that much work to take a web app and host it on IPFS, yet almost nobody does it. And that's sort of the bare minimum. It's like a day of dev work. Nobody does it. And in fact, people actually go the opposite way. They take the easy way out. They centralize their apps. They add smart contract upgrade systems that allow them to arbitrarily change any of the code, and in fact, in many cases, arbitrarily steal all of your money if they wanted to. It's complete security theater. In addition to that, most of the UIs for these applications are completely closed source. So you just kind of blindly trust whatever they're doing with your money. It's completely kind of contrary to the original vision that Bitcoin and Ethereum had. And then everybody, almost everybody, is using centralized oracles, which are basically custodians. They basically have control of your money, and they can effectively steal it most of the time. There's a few exceptions to that rule, but usually they can steal your money. And so it's really security theater at its worst. It's not really effective. It's completely centralized. And so my thesis is really, it feels like people have sort of given up and alternated and opted for a simpler thesis of digital gold, because building digital cash is really hard, and getting adoption is really hard. And so instead of a group of people from all over the world working together to try to achieve this vision, to try to achieve the vision of digital cash and decentralized apps, instead, we ceded the digital cash vision to governments like Singapore and China. So let's not do the same for decentralized applications and open finance, because I think that would be a shame. Thank you.